All right, welcome back to a brand new video of the Target Individual Program, Target Individual Experience. So again, I am about to expose what it is that they do and how they do it. I've been talking about how they've been using family members to try to engage in, these sort of coercive control, these sort of psychological threats and stuff like that. And for the past couple of weeks, they have literally stopped asking me. Actually, the past couple of weeks, but the past few months, I should say. Usually they'll leave, my grandnephew here. He's what, 6 years old. They're trying to use him and trying to manipulate, create false narrative, what have you. So, being that I exposed them today, now there is going to come up with some uh, tactic or method. So my niece knocked on my door and she asked if I can watch him while she go out. And I'm just like, so I said, okay, fine, you know. But again, when I talk about how they will lie, they will use their children to create false narratives just so they can try to manipulate and control me. This is what I talk about, right? If I'm such a threat, then why are you leaving your child with me? If I'm crazy, why are you leaving your child with me? These are the things that I want people to understand, right? That these religious groups, and this includes family members, okay, they are manipulated. They're being manipulated, and I know this. But to convey that knowledge to them, forget it. They will not listen at all. See, one of the things that when you develop a conscious mind is that you always have the understanding and know that you can always be manipulated. Now, they may not be able to manipulate you and I, people who have a conscious mind, as much as they used to before we didn't know what we know. But because we've gained knowledge, wisdom, understanding, they can no longer manipulate us in ways in which they have in the past. Now, I was reading this book called the New. By the way, I just purchased Mark Rich book, The Hidden Evil, and I thought I had that Kindle book already. Um, um I thought I had that book already. Literally, I thought I bought that book off of Kindle already, but apparently I did not. So I ended up purchasing the book, the PDF version, and just to give another TI some form of support because I don't know if I've read on his website, the stuff that he's been going through, and the fact that he can uh, still doing this research, still writing books, it's amazing. It really is, and we are truly in debt indebted to Mark Rich and others who have exposed what is going on. That include Alan Mysterio, that include my brother, who has a blog on Substack called The Watch at 33, exposing what it is that they do. That include Miriam Snyder, who recently passed away. They were pumping chemicals into her apartment, and what is called there's a name for it where people die because of their apartment not being taken care of, by the landlords and stuff like that. And not being that she's a target, she doesn't really go anywhere. If you do go out, like I said, to the grocery, it's kind of like me, right? I go where I have to go, not where I have the urge to go. Because a lot of times, a lot of those urges that we get, it is manipulation. It is using radio with microwave frequency to manipulate our minds into going somewhere or to doing certain things or what have you. And there's a whole book on this, right? How there are those within positions of power who engage in psychological manipulation, and they call it the nudging of society. So if they can nudge a whole society to go in a certain direction, imagine what they can do to an individual or a group of individuals. Okay, but anyway, I was reading the New World War, revolutionary methods of our political control, and one of this book. We look at the current climate today. One of the chapters, I should say, is called Dictatorship Creation. Let me just read something here to you guys. Right? So it says, psychopath's role. Researchers have mentioned that throughout history, particular characters are continually the cause of wars, occupation, genocide, and other acts of human degradation. Unfortunately, because the processes of these characters are so completely bizarre, humanity has not been consistently successful in recognizing and stopping them. At this time, those who have studied, guys, hear the airplane? Airplane. Listen. I want you. You hear a lot of this? You hear a lot of this, right? Okay. Like I said, at this time, those who have studied such event are certain that the characters who are usually responsible are psychopaths. We now have information which we lacked centuries ago that allow us to comprehend what is happening as part of a larger historical pattern. And this is what's happening now with Donald Trump and his administration, from his Secretary of Defense to his Secretary of State to his the head of FBI and so forth, the head of Department of Justice and so forth. Right? Okay. All right. So a new era of study has been created to help us understand and prevent this destructive cycle. An accurate profile of these people, how they are able to do it, and the attributes of a system that has fallen under their control has been documented. An explanation of how they accomplish this will be provided now. In any society, during any time period, psychopaths create small active network for their for further to further their ambition. Their primary consideration is how they will go about gaining control of the population over the population. Members of these networks often seek position of political influence. Their pursuit of power is hyperactive. They believe it is necessary to transform society into what they consider to be a utopia, where they are not subjected by the normal people for which they are, or need to submit to their laws and customs. If they have access to tremendous wealth, it will be used for this purpose. In their society, the normal people would submit to them and would be forced to view reality in their deviant way. But most of all, in the society they seek to create, they would have power over the normal people. They will hurt and kill any number of people to achieve this. They are prepared to fight, suffer, and die for this new world. Overthrows. An entire country can be taken over without a visible military invasion. The government structure the governance structure of a country, as well as the areas of society which people rely on for representation, can be usurped without the general public being aware of it. Other than war, two methods which can be used to establish control of the governance structure of a country include coup d'etats, also called overthrows, and infiltration. An overthrow is the rapid seizure of the political control of a state administration by a conspiratorial group. It is used to establish control over a constitutional system of government and is one of the primary methods for installing a dictatorship. With infiltration, the conspirators have also seized control of the government, but are not yet completely identified with the nation. In the initial phase, they recruit the cooperation of other groups and parties, and the regime develops in stages, which is complete totalitarian traits emerging only after a period of time. Now, there's a movie I always talk about. It's Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and if you look at that movie, right, where Hydra had infiltrated every level of government within society, so you had within Shield, and you had where Shield agents are pulling weapons on each other because the Shield agency have been infiltrated heavily by Hydra. All right. So, and the reason why they say Hydra? No, the Hydra is a three-headed dragon. Now we talk about biblical nonsense and what have you, and these people are using this biblical um, mythology to create their own reality based off of the biblical mythology because they understand the esoteric meaning of the Bible, not the religious meaning that they teach most of us, right? As I said, mostly all of us. So there's a selected group of people who understand, whether you want to call them the Illuminati, the Freemasons, or what have you, but they understand the true esoteric knowledge of the Bible. Okay? And it's rooted in science, not in religious belief, not in supernatural, not in hocus pocus, not in belief system, but in knowing the secrets of the universe, knowing the secrets of space and time, knowing the sciences, the technology, the math, physics, all these things. All right? So they gave you religion to dumb down your mind while they're studying all of the esoteric knowledge. Okay? So let's see. Overthrows can occur more rapidly than infiltration. In both situations, the control and structure of the government is seized. So, to simplify matters, for the course of this chapter, these two methods have been combined. Even with a coup, a consolidation process occurs over a period of time during which the group establishes control over the rest of the government and society. This process could also be described as a type of infiltration. Overthrows and infiltration are both basically takeovers. Okay? So when we talk about the New World Order, right, these people, like I said, have been using cursive persuasion programming, setups and frameworks for cursive control. Um, Also, when you look over the past, even in the Biden administration, where you had the FBI raiding these private um, security places where people will keep money, jewelry, important documents, stuff like that, heavily secured. Okay, the FBI had raided some of these places, and because looking into and even seizing people's security boxes or what have you, right? So why is that? Think about it. Okay, so like I keep saying, we need to understand that both the political left and the political right, they're on the same page. Okay, when it comes to who actually uh, run this government, run this nation, it isn't your politicians, it is big uh, corporations, it is the military-industrial complex. Most of our politicians are compromised. You look at Trump, you look at um, his role in the Epstein situation. Bill Clinton in the 2000s, and with the DEA and the transportation of drugs into the United States. You look at today, you look at Fort Bragg, where you have special forces soldiers who are some of the biggest drug cartel in the world. Okay, you look at how they will uh, put $11 billion on airplanes. Right, I think one was $5 billion, the other was $6 billion. Flew them to Iraq, Afghanistan, and all of that money goes missing. You look at the theft of $21 trillion from the American people over the past 2 decades. Where's all that money gone? There's no accountability for it. So we're looking at a takeover that has been happening since, I would say, the early 1980s. Okay, this has been in planning, and they have now gotten to the point where they have a so-called king as president. As you can see, he's not asking Congress for permission to go and attack another nation to kidnap their president. So what's going to happen when China invades Taiwan, right? Kidnap their president? You know, are we going to say, well, China was wrong? Hmm? Do we have any moral high ground to stand on? The answer would be no. The answer would be no. And when you look at these white supremacists and what they are doing, okay, you look at like I said, I think it was with the war in Ukraine, I think particularly Democrats pushing to uh, have to give Ukraine ballistic missiles right on Russia's front door. That's a no-no, and they should know better. As Jeffrey Sachs, said that look, that was a provocation on NATO. Okay, but why? Why on Russia? So we got to think about this. They tried to sell us their boogeyman. And I reminded of the book by a CIA agent, I forgot his name, ex-CIA agent, called In Search of Our Enemies, where he talks about the CIA go around the world creating enemies, right? Creating enemies so they can have us make the excuse of the military spending, right? The military industrial complex in terms of weapon development, in terms of contracts, billions and billions of dollars worth of contracts with the U.S. government, and robbing of taxpayers. And instead of making this country better, instead of investing in the infrastructure, investing in its people, it allows corporations to devalue the Americans, to devalue American workers, to devalue the skills of people living in the United States and working in the United States. So now you have a society that is highly unskilled. That is highly technically unskilled. While China has the most technically skilled people on the planet, the most educated, highly educated people on the planet. And you look at how Chinese leadership within the past 3 decades have uplifted over 800 million people out of poverty, how they have built their nation, right, in terms of the infrastructure to be world class, futuristic in every way, right? So as much as they might want to talk about China being a dictatorship, they want the same thing they want here in the United States. These are the white supremacist mindset. These are the warmongers because they are psychopaths. Because war is profit, poverty is profit, suffering is profit. And so, what do you call the person for these biblical Negropeans out there, these so-called biblical believers or believers out there? You call that who? The devil. So the devil is not a person. It is a group of people who are psychopathic in nature. They have the dark triad personality traits, who are drunk off greed, and there is no limit to their greed. And they are sadistic in nature because they enjoy a society of seeing people in society suffer while they sit in high places. And I was just watching a video that talks about, the fact that Negropeans who claim to be religious worship wealthy people, when in their very Bible tell them what? That we fight against forces in dark places, fight against sin and principalities of those where in high places. Okay, but today they love those very same people in high places. All right, so go and get this book. It's called The New World War: Revolutionary Methods for Political Control by Mark Rich. You can find it on Amazon. You can get the Kindle version, or you can get the hard copy version. Okay, the paperback. The price went up, right? So what I've noticed also is that books like these, they have raised the price as with everything else. To what? Because when what they're doing today, all right, and I talked about this. I've been saying this. This is what's to come. It's even going to get worse, right? You look at the technology sector. Certain things are getting more expensive, particularly computer parts. So if you build computers like I do, like I know how to, if you enjoy building your own computer, you will no longer be able to do that because the parts will become so expensive that you will have to go to one of these big box computer manufacturers to get a computer. And that would be the only way that you're going to be able to afford a computer. And what they're going to do is to not have you buy the computer, but actually rent the computer. So you'll be paying money every month to rent things that you do not own. This is part of their agenda. There are many parts of their agenda. There's the transhumanist part, which is the merging of human beings and machine. And that's going to start, you'll start to see that taking place by the year 2030. Okay? By the year 2035, as a black person, as black American, as a black person in America, and for foundation of black Americans, black people will be the fourth most populous people in America. Okay, Dr. Claude Anderson been telling us this for decades. Okay, 2035. All right, 8 years later, white people will pass down $124 trillion to the younger generation of white people. What black people passing down? Nothing. By the year 2050, black people will have zero wealth in America. So you can be in your church praying all day, all you want. But God ain't going to stop the inevitable. You and I are the ones who's going to have to. And we're going to have to wake up. You have to wake up. Or wake up, become more conscious, become more aware. And this is what they don't want. And every time I say wake up, then your prayer department using their sirens. They want to tear us apart so that we don't have love for each other. So that when they weaponize us against each other, they don't got to do anything. Except to sit back, sit on their chair, have a glass of wine or a beer, whatever the hell they drink, smoke a cigar, and watch us continue to destroy each other in a more lethal way. Because not only do they have the psychopathic mindset, but within the society, they will have us having that same personality trait. But guess what? We don't have the power. We're not in the position that they're in. So we're going to be the ones held responsible, not them. Understand what's going on. All right. Talk to you guys in the next video.